full disclosure, I haven't seen any of Mayweather's training videos. I don't need to. I don't need to. Okay, what's up? What's the question? Well, like I think his confidence comes from the fact that he's a giant. He's a way bigger man than Mayweather, and I think that he's been in enough like sparring matches, and he's done enough stuff on the side, like involved with combat sports, where he feels that the smaller man's not going to be able to do anything to him. And what he doesn't realize is that he's going up against somebody who 5 years ago was the pound for pound best boxer on the planet. So this is not going to be a good situation for him, even if he is a smaller man. Again, if this is like MMA, if he could wrestle, if he could do something, then it'd be a different situation. But like, keep in mind, Mayweather is like 5 years replaced or removed from being the best on the planet, and that man never stops training. He is like notorious for never stopping training, never being in bad shape. Like, we almost never have seen, like, even when he fought the Japanese guy, Nasagawa, I can't remember his name, but anyways, when he had his last exhibition match against the Japanese fellow, he looked a little soft, but it's soft relative to Mayweather, like meaning that he still had a six-pack. Right, he was still pretty ripped, and even with the weight discrepancy going into this, like, I still, like, I know Mayweather's going to be in phenomenal shape. Okay, all right. So first, full disclosure, I haven't seen any of Mayweather's training videos. I don't need to. I don't need to. So historically, he's 50-0. He's not lost a single time in his entire boxing career. I suspect he's training. Okay. If I just had to, take a wild guess, he's not lost a single fight against the best in the world. Okay. One of his last conquests was Canelo Alvarez, the best in the world currently. Okay. Period. He's at least top 2, top 3. So that being said, if you think that he's not training, I would take that bet. So as far as Logan's concerned, I saw some of his training videos. Specifically, I saw some of his sparring videos, and I've seen some of his sparring stuff from before. I am not impressed. I am really not impressed. Like, the guy, again, he's an amateur. He's an amateur with decent power. I think his brother has better power and better skill than he does, to be perfectly honest. And I've actually read that in a few different places, and that seems to be that there's a consensus there. And there's even been talks about them fighting against each other. But that being said, like his brother has better power than him. I think his brother has better technique than him. And don't get me wrong, the guy's an athlete. He's a stud. In terms of, like, he's a very athletic guy. Like, he's very lean. I'm sure he's in great shape. But we're comparing apples and oranges here. Like, there's just no comparison to the upper echelon of somebody that grew up boxing from 6 years old. Like, that's when Mayweather started. He started boxing, I believe, at 6 years old, and I believe he was also in the Olympics. Yeah, like, he's Mayweather. Well, I saw an older video of Logan, and then I saw a newer video of Logan where he was going up and sparring with three brothers, three NFL brothers. And like, when the original video that I saw, the first video that I saw of him was him knocking out some Russian dude. Like, this guy came to his house, and it was obviously set up beforehand, and then this Russian dude came up, challenged him to box, and then they really fought. Like, you could tell that they really fought, but the Russian dude had no idea, like, which side of the gloves he was using. Like, he was just completely clueless, zero experience, or very minimal, and he got knocked out by Logan. Then the video that I've seen recently with the NFL brothers, I didn't see much change. Like, you can see kind of like when somebody's been boxing for a while and you see the progression, you see their awareness, you see their defensive twitches, you see, like, the way that they're moving their body, the way they're putting combinations together, the kind of composure that they have. And you can see that progression. I didn't see very much change. I really didn't. And I think these videos, you know, were done, like this recent one was done like a month ago or something, and then the one that I watched was like 3 years ago. And yeah, that's not good. That doesn't bode well to him getting out. And really what we're betting on here is whether or not he's gonna get out alive. That's all we're betting on. Because again, there's no wrestling, there's no takedowns, there's no jiu-jitsu, there's no kicking, right? And there's no hugging and hitting. At least there's gonna be a limited amount. And trust me, if Mayweather is the one that's you know, setting this up, which I know he is, then he's gonna make sure that he has a very favorable referee that is gonna take no bullshit whatsoever. And there's gonna be none of him leaning on him and grabbing him. It's just not. It's gonna be the same thing that happened with McGregor versus him, where the minute McGregor ties up with him, you're gonna have the referee say, none of that, pulling them apart and then letting them resume the fight. So yeah. I think that age always plays a role, right? Like age is always going to be a factor, and especially when it comes to a skills sport like you know, like boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, like any combat sport. You know, like how quickly you can react to things, right? So your hand-eye coordination, also reaction time, you know, it goes down. One of the last things to not go down is power, but the other thing is, you know, there's boxers out there, and you know, boxing is one of those unique sports where you know, it's not like Muay Thai, it's not like MMA, where, you know, fighters are putting their bodies in very compromising positions, right? And I would say like the hierarchy would be, MMA is probably the thing that puts the most amount of stress on the body. It's why we see so many injuries and so many people pulling out of fights because of injuries. And then the next level up is Muay Thai. Like when you're banging shins with people, you know, you go and you fight, and you know, there's throws in Muay Thai. There's the clinch game in Muay Thai. There's connecting shin to shin. You know, people blocking kicks, throwing kicks, hitting knees, hitting elbows. So you take a lot of trauma when you fight in Muay Thai as well. And then the next level up is then boxing, where the things that you can attack, the points that you can attack, it's only above the waist. You're not going bone to bone pretty much on anything unless there's an accidental headbutt. So there's just less trauma. So I would say that, you know, out of all those sports, the sport where you can have the most longevity and you can fight the longest is definitely boxing. And I think a good example of that is going to be Bernard Hopkins. You know, like the guy fought until he was 50, right? And he was winning up until he was 50 as well, until he came up against a guy that was skillful as well as young with really good power. And then that was, you know, the last fight for him. But other than that, like, you know, outside of boxing, you don't see that happen. You don't see 50-year-old Muay Thai fighters doing well. You definitely don't see 50-year-old MMA fighters being competitive at the highest levels. But you do sometimes in boxing. So, yeah. I recommend that you go and look at maybe the last 25, we'll call them like pre-fight interviews and whatnot that are done with Mayweather and every one of his opponents. Everybody tries to get under his skin. Nobody does. That guy, he's got the blinders on, 100%. Yeah, like I don't know if any of you guys, if any of you have seen like what happened with McGregor, you know, him trying to get under his skin, you know, he laughs at it, right? He's a consummate professional. He's had everybody and their mother try to get under his skin before a fight. This guy, consummate professional. He knows the game. He knows it in and out. He knows how to play the heel, which is exactly what he's doing. That's why we love him. We want to see him get smashed. But it's funny because I think actually the reverse is true now, because I think people want to see the Paul brothers get smashed so bad. I think many boxing fans especially are just like, okay, great, Mayweather, go in and do your work. So I think this is gonna be the first time where we're actually seeing Mayweather not be the heel, or at least the first time in recent history where Mayweather's not gonna be the heel. There's gonna be a lot of people rooting Money Mayweather to knock him out because there's so much hate for these guys, and I think he's gonna deliver. There's no chance that Logan, baby Paul, gets under this man's skin. Just not a chance. He's got the blinders on. He's got the look of death. That man's been in there with the most ferocious people on the planet. Period. That's it. On one hand, you know, there's whatever got you to the game, I'm always a fan, right? So I don't care. Like when it comes to fitness, martial arts, when it comes to all the things that I like that I know are going to benefit people, you know, whatever got you there, I don't care, right? So it's like if what got you into the gym to do Muay Thai was you taking a Thai bow class, I'm all for it. By all means, take a Thai bow class and then let that segue into you know. So again, whatever got you to the game, I'm happy. So that being said, when I see these we'll call them freak shows, when we see these sideshow events where you have these big name fighters or you have these exhibition matches happening, I'm kind of happy that it's maybe breathing a little bit of life and rejuvenating boxing a little bit, or at least, you know, at the very least, it's going to be bringing eyes from a younger demographic to the sport. Because let's be real here, like, you know, boxing fans typically, unless you live in a very impoverished country where they have a very strong boxing history, like for example Ireland or Mexico, right? You know, there's others obviously, but anyways, unless you come from those places, you know, the love for the sport is not necessarily passed down. But you know, now what's happening is in North America specifically, we're getting more of these younger eyes on the sport. So again, whatever gets people to the game, whatever gets more eyes on the sport, because I love boxing, I'm happy to see it. In terms of where do I see it going in the future, I think people are going to get bored with it pretty quick. Like I think that, you know, there's only so many like freak show events that you can put on, or sideshow events that you can put on and still continue to get eyes. And there's going to be a very short shelf life, specifically for the Paul brothers, because we're going to see Logan get smashed. Plain and simple. That's what's going to happen. I don't know if he gets knocked out, but there's a very good possibility of it. And anybody that thinks that that's not the case is crazy. So, yeah. There's a definite possibility that those guys, they'll fight with each other. You know, like I personally think their morals are shitty enough where you know, they just might. And I say morals because like the idea of two siblings fighting each other kind of, it's kind of messed up, you know? Like that's, there's some real familial hate. Don't get me wrong, brothers argue, but yeah, like you're like the mindset you need to go into when you're fighting somebody on a live stage is, it's pretty intense. Like you've got to be prepared to kill somebody. Like that's basically die, kill or be killed, 100%. You've got to be prepared for that. And to get, you know, wrap your head around that kind of psychology to go against your own brother, which they've talked about many times of potentially doing, yeah, it's pretty messed up. I think they need a social worker to talk to them. All right, guys, so make sure you comment. I want you guys to comment in the comment section who you think is going to win, Mayweather or Logan. And then if you want to take it a step further, let's call the round that they're going to win in. So either Mayweather or Logan. Hope you guys are liking this. Remember, like, subscribe, comment. It's really important. Upregulates us, helps us to get our stuff out there to the world. Other than that, MMT crew, take care.